Well, you've heard the story. Someone with cancer desperately seeking a bone marrow donor, but it doesn't have to be that way. Tide Howard Thompson is here to tell us about a woman who wants to change the system and save lives, maybe even her own. Howard.
Thompson, how are you? Tonight we're going to meet Rebecca Salame. She's living in New Jersey now and has cancer of the T cells, white blood cells that help our immune system. It's very rare, and she's very rare because of her spirit and her idea to save lives by making everyone a potential donor. All it would take is for you to do a swab of your cheek. Here's Rebecca's story in her own words.
Half of all the people that look for a donor don't find one. Half of the children that are looking for a donor die because there wasn't anybody there in the registry for them. And it's not right. That person exists out there, they just don't know they're needed. But because so few of us think of getting that cheek swab until somebody we know needs it, or we're hit with the need of a child who's dying, those matches aren't there. They're not in the systems. I first developed symptoms in 1987. I wasn't properly diagnosed until I had been at the end stage for already 2 years, and that was in 2006. It mimics other skin issues, rosacea and other flaking diseases and things. If you have it in the early stages, you could think you had a rash. And it's very painful, I will admit. For years before I was diagnosed, I worked with the late stages of this disease, and what I did was I would get out of the tub and I would moisturize my body, and then I would put gauze bandages like a mummy. I'd wrap myself up, and then I'd put saran wrap over that so that it wouldn't bleed through, and then I'd put clothing on, and then I'd go work. Physically, I had pretty much deteriorated to the point where I was ready to go. I had a huge tumor on my face. It was inside my mouth, and it covered my mouth, and it went up the side of my nose and covered my right eye. I didn't have skin on much of my body. That's what my cancer looks like when it's really bad, is open areas and mushroom-shaped bloody tumors. I had a donor that showed up in June, and so I got multiple chemotherapies in preparation for a transplant and some extra spot radiation. And here I sit. They can't keep you on this kind of chemotherapy indefinitely. Once I lost my donor, my doctors didn't really want to take me off of it right away. They were kind of hoping somebody else would show up right away. But I got to get off it now because I have a few good months left, and if a donor showed up and I had damage from the chemotherapy, they wouldn't be able to re-give it to me. And I'm in really good shape right now. I'm having a partial remission. I'm walking, and I even wash dishes, and I can sort of see pretty good, and I'm talking, and I don't feel embarrassed going out in public. And I really dream about working again and having a full life. I'm just really happy to exist. I mean, for me, my life is a gift, and I've always been a really happy person, and I've had a fantastic, wonderful existence. And the other thing is, I'm not a worrier. If I can't fix it, I don't worry about it, because what good's that going to do me? And what good's it going to do anyone around me? I mean, I am hoping that soon that change will come to our culture so that it doesn't become the sad story that it is, like it is for me, where my daughter, who's 23 and really just has me, is crying and scared because I lost my donor and worried that she's going to be alone soon. It's super important that everybody become a donor. If you have young kids, I think you should teach them when they're young. Hey, when you turn 18, when you get your driver's license, when you register to vote, we expect you to get swabbed so that you can save a life someday. I am a Mediterranean Jew, Middle Eastern Jew. If you are Middle Eastern descent and you would think about swabbing right away, that would be beneficial to me because my time is very, very short. And soon, it's going to be too late for me. But aside from that, the big picture is let's change it for everyone. Let's make it so that if someone we know needs a donor, that donor's already there and no one's suffering. And that's really what I want. That's what would really help me.
The registration process is simple. You just swab the inside of your cheek for a few seconds, then you put the swabs inside one of these containers, mail it to the registry. That's it. The registry may ask you for a donation to cover its costs, but once you're registered for one recipient, you're registered for everyone. And Rebecca points out that the old idea that bone marrow donation is so painful just isn't true anymore. It's much more like giving blood. So what can you do? Who do you contact? You contact giftoflife.org or be the thematch.org, or just mail us at howardshelpers@pix11.com. We'll get you into the right hands. Tamsin?
Great woman. Let me ask you something. What are the odds of being a donor?
The odds are actually pretty high. It's 1 in 540. So think about it. All you do is swab this in the inside of your cheek 3 or 4 times on one side, 3 or 4 times on the other side. You put it in here. If you match, you save a life.
Yep.
And the people who do this have told us they actually feel rejuvenated themselves. They've done something so simple, but they've given somebody the gift of life. And that's truly an amazing thing.
All right, Howard. Thank you so much for that story.
Thank you.